Hi, this is Lily with the Help Your Sales podcast. And tonight I have with me Lorraine McDonnell. Is that how you say it, Lorraine?
McDonald, that's absolutely right,
McDonnell.
Lilia.
Um, Thank you. It's so nice to see you because I met you first in real life at the festival. And I think we just hit it off, didn't we? And it was just great to have your energy. It was such an amazing weekend of energy anyway. But it's so nice to get a chance to actually just speak to you without like 200 other people around. So thanks for coming on the podcast.
Thank you, Lilia, and thank you so much for allowing me to be a part of the Heal Scotland Festival. I mean, I know I echo what all the other Wim Hof instructors around Scotland felt at the end of that weekend, and it was just such an honor to be a part of it. And the participation of something with such good intentions, where all those who showed up benefited so much, not just from the Wim Hof method, but everything else you had on offer that weekend. It was absolutely amazing.
Yeah,
Thank you.
it really was, wasn't it? I'm still kind of like, you think back to all the amazing speakers and the workshops and yeah, it was just, and the nighttime stuff was brilliant fun as well, which was great. So yeah, I think there was something there for everyone, and I'm excited to really put together something equally as good, if not better, for next year.
Oh, I would say better even. I'm sure we can cap it.
Oh yes, yes, yes. I mean so many people breathing together is just such a phenomenal thing. It's just such a phenomenal experience that there is something very special about that level of group. And seeing the photos of you guys all in your kilts holding it so well, it really was magic. It was very, very moving. And yeah. So listen, tell us how you came about, because you've got three kids and a pretty busy life. So tell me, how did it come about? How did you end up becoming you're a level two instructor, aren't you?
Yes, yes. I'm a
So that's
level.
a lot of going to the cold.
So I always put my honesty forward. As somebody who's very open and honest, I think it's really important to start by saying, I've always had an aversion to the cold, to the point where I'm one of these people that would walk around the house in winter with a hot water bottle in my arms, and the person whose preference would be to go to the sun on holidays, never ever to retreat to a cold environment. And yet here I am, and very honored to say that I'm the first female Wim Hof instructor in Scotland, and now a level two instructor. And just it's opened up my world so much. And I got into it almost by accident, like a lot of good things in life, an opportunity crossed my path. And it's a little bit of a cliche because I think this happened for a lot of people in lockdown. So the first lockdown announcement had happened. And a friend of mine who is aware that I'm very much invested and interested and work in wellness and well-being had suggested to me that I should try sea swimming. And my instant reaction was, not a chance. That's not for me. I'll do anything else, but I am not getting into the North Sea on a cold day. And she mentioned Wim Hof, and I Googled him. And there the fascination started. I just thought, wow, and I read his book and I started following him on Instagram. And I really liked that he was a down to earth character who had a very inspirational story of his own trauma, along with the grief of having lost his wife. And then how he developed this method and um, became, I suppose, a brand. And, today he's influenced this global craze and cold exposure, breathwork, and the commitment that goes with that. And so I just thought, what have I got to lose? Give it a try, see how I feel. And here I am only a few years later, and for me, it's a daily practice parent, but they see me lead by example with that. It's a bit like the scenario where you really want your children to eat the broccoli because it's good for them. And the best way to actually enforce that is by allowing them to see you eat the broccoli. And so all my children do breath work, they do cold exposure. We talk about feeling good, mood elevation, positively charged. It's absolutely transformed me as a person. I can't quite believe how much I've changed. And an awful lot of that is finding courage where I would otherwise be filled with fear in certain scenarios. Um, I've often said to my work colleague, Darren, a little girl on the inside who's still scared of everything in life. But practicing the Wim Hof method has allowed me the chance to walk through that fear. So the fear is still often present, but I have this sense of self belief. As a 44-year-old woman, I have a sense of self belief that I've never had my whole entire life. And that ability to ditch the self saboteur thinking that I've often engaged in, the I'm not good enough, I can't, I don't want to admit, I'm too scared, this negative internal dialogue. I don't know if you can relate to that, but I've always had that within me. And
Uh-huh.
now I can push it to the side and quieten down the noise and think to myself, no, I can do this. Wim Hof told me I could do this. I'm doing it. And there I go. And I gingerly proceed through life. And then I look back over a period of a few months, or the last 6 months, the last year, the last 3 years. And I think, my goodness, am I the same person? And I suppose I've learned so much and developed so much and found a sense of happiness I never knew I would source within myself, that I feel compelled to pass it on to other people. And that's where the gift in practicing the Wim Hof method really lies for me.
Absolutely. And I think when people can see, it's a bit like you see somebody's lost a bit of weight and you notice and you're like, how, so you ask them the question, you see somebody that's glowing, you see somebody that's more confident than they used to be, that's the selling point right there. Because then they see that it works. Whatever you're doing is working. And, for me, I had postmenopausal arthritis. And it was actually, I was in Ireland the first time I saw people getting in the water. It was November, and I thought, right, they must be getting something out of that I don't understand, because why would you do that? So I was the same. My interest was piqued, and then I started reading and researching. I bought a book that somebody had written about the method, and it wasn't Wim's book, but I bought that later. And then I started realizing, if I've got pain in my body, then there's a way. Normally I would juice, but even the juicing wasn't putting it completely away. So I started getting in the cold. I lived in Malta. I hate the cold. I
Yeah.
still walk up at the farm with a hot water bottle. So it's funny because people think I like the cold. Nothing could be further from the truth, but I use the cold to help keep my body free from pain. And that's an absolute given. And if I slack on it for any time, I'll start to feel my shoulders, and I'm like, yeah, you keep doing it. I need to keep doing it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you hit the nail on the head with one of the key reasons why it's so beneficial for everybody, you know, um, regardless of age or condition of health, as to why it will benefit us, because we live in a world where we're overly stressed in the rat race. Some of us are parenting up the way, parenting down the way. We're multitasking, we're working. The price of living has gone through the roof, and all these things, they impact on our digestive health, from a nutritional perspective, and they impact our mental health and our physical health and well-being. And I'm somebody who's had the fortune to invest my career in that realm and that world. And I'm always interested in the next amazing revelation that people have had. And we all carry a degree of inflammation. And one of the key parts of science in relation to practicing the Wim Hof method is that we now know that combining the breath work and the commitment element of it with cold exposure, that we can reduce inflammation, and it increases an activity in the area of the brain called the periaqueductal gray area, which helps to manage pain receptors. So anyone with any degree of pain or inflammation in their body, which most of us have to a degree, it helps to reduce that. And so I think one of the slight myths with regards to the Wim Hof method, and for those who aren't overly familiar with it yet, is that sometimes the cold exposure element can be sensationalized a little bit on social media.
Mhm.
Because that's the major adrenaline rush, the dopamine hit, and it's what people tend to speak about. But it really is just a small
Yeah.
percentage. And submerge into an ice bath for an hour, which isn't true. It's a bit more like the person who's interested in going from couch to 5K. And so we start small, and literally a matter of seconds with full immersion in cold water to start with is enough to give us the health benefits.
Mhm.
And that anti inflammatory impact can last for 6 days. So even if we're busy in our lifestyles, we have lots of hobbies, and we think, oh, that's the next thing now I can't fit in, which we often have that thought process when it comes to thinking about trying out something new. But even if we can factor in a few minutes of breath work a couple of times a week, which you can do first thing in the morning, and it resets my brain, it helps me to concentrate that bit better. It calms the accelerated thinking in my mind so I can focus, get through a to-do list, actually sometimes complete a task. Can you believe that, Lilia? And that in conjunction with cold exposure once a week, that is an amazing start. And you can start small, like I said, full immersion, a few seconds, and then build it up.
Yeah, well, when I started, I was going into the sea down at, just down from my daughter's house. She had young children at the time, and I would stay down when I was home from Malta. So the sea, I would be screaming with the pain because it was painful. Because
Yes.
I'd come from a balmy 26 degrees Mediterranean
Mhm.
sea into this like 8, 9 degrees loch, and I stopped doing all you've got to do this amount of breaths. How long were you in for? And then I thought, you know what? See if you just come in, throw yourself in, and come straight back out. That's fine. Stop, you know, overthinking it and actually spoiling it. Um,
Yes. Yeah.
and what was always nice about down there was I would go down around dawn. So very often the light was just coming up and the sun would maybe come up on the odd occasion in Scotland.
Oh, beautiful.
So, and then I just, obviously became adapted, but it took me months before I
Yeah.
stopped dreading it. And I would wake up and I would think, I'm not doing it today. And then
Yeah. No, I'm
I was
so glad.
studying, I was studying neuroscience course at the time, and it's really simple. You're teaching an old dog a new trick, and you need to keep teaching that old dog until it stops resisting.
Uh-huh.
And so I realized that you need to break this resistance. And then till eventually, I would say 5 or 6 months later, I was looking out and I was like, I'm going in, I yearn for it now.
Yeah, I can relate to that. I would say my experience has been very similar. Very much a matter of this is like a job I need to get done.
Yes.
Real discipline. There's no enjoyment in this,
Uh-huh.
and it was a case of run in and run out as fast as I can, and then spend 10 times the length of the time I was in the cold water focusing on the warming up process. But you know what? I felt so good. It compelled me to want to try it again and again. Uh, and now I'm at the point where I crave it. And I crave it, especially if I haven't had the opportunity to maybe get into the sea for a while, because I know how good I'll feel afterwards. And there's something really beautiful when you get into that zone of real mindfulness at a deep level, that meditative um, calm and peace. And I find for me, if I can get into the sea when it's rough with messy waves and be a part of that kinetic energy and nature, and then find calm in my mind at the same time, wow, I come out feeling like a superhero. You feel so empowered. And
Yeah.
like you were saying as well, we can pick and choose locations, times of the day. Uh, there's just so many layers of benefits. That connection with nature for me personally is huge.
Yeah. Me too. And we've got the little river at the farm, which quite often when it's raining a lot, which is regularly, it's in spate. So the energy of the river, I love that, you know, when it's just like full on. There's definitely a different energy from still water to, you know, moving, angry water. That
Absolutely.
you can literally feel when you come out. You're like, you know, that electrical aliveness. So let's talk a little bit, because two things I want to talk to you about. You're also a nutritionist, aren't you?
Yes.
So do you work with people one to one?
Oh, I lost you there for a second. Are you there?
Yeah. Do you work with people one to one?
Yes, I do. I've been a nutritionist now for over 10 years, 12 years probably. And I'm a qualified diet and nutritionist and a sports nutritionist. And
Uh-huh.
so over the years, I've had the opportunity to do work with corporates and run a series of projects where I would deliver seminars throughout the course of a year or a few months on various topics. I've worked with athletes, so very specific sports nutrition.
Mhm.
And I do a lot of, to answer your question properly, Lilia, a lot of one-to-one work as well,
Mhm.
which I personally love because I'm invested in the person. And that for me means gathering a lot of information to get a good sense for that person's lifestyle, as well as their current diet,
Mhm.
their current activity level, and their motivating factors, what they're looking for from me to help them so that we can work together to achieve a goal. So in those scenarios, it's very tailored to the individual.
Yeah, because I'm sure you're like me. If somebody comes for Wim Hof saying that they've got pains, you'll be thinking about diet too, because that's what I can't help that. It's in you, you know, when you're a nutritionist, you see everything that's affecting uh,
Yes.
the body. And you know, I'm a hairdresser as well, and people come in for a cut and blow dry, and they go away back out with a full health evaluation. Because you know, people ask me now, they'll say, "What do you think I can do for this?" Or you know, if they've got issues, which nearly everybody has, especially over the last few years. Um, it's nice to be able to tell them about breath work. I mean, it's a game changer for me. I think, you know, I think that's one of the key ones. Cold water, yes, but the breath work for me, I just love it. Absolutely love it. So things like that, and especially that you can recommend that are free, you know, and that's what I
Yes.
love about foraging as well. You know, even the seaweed foraging, it's like, it's free. It's wild food that's full of nutrition and life, you know. And the seaweed, I've been getting really into that. I foraged a lot of seaweed last week and just putting it into everything. It makes everything so tasty.
Yes.
Um, and that's something that everybody can access.
Yes.
Um,
And they complement each other, don't they?
it's absolutely.
You know, if you're fueling our body in a particular way and we're then complementing that with the powerful Wim Hof method breath work, which for me helps to change, well, for everybody, not just me, it changes our body's chemistry. But for me personally, what it does is it serves to calm me down. You know, I've often been referred to as somebody who comes across as being highly strung. And that's usually because I'm running at 1,000,000 miles an hour, you know, get this, and this done. And actually, sometimes that isn't healthy. That's not necessarily always good. You know, that's when I can't learn to slow down and stop, then I'm going to hit burnout at some point. So today I
Yes.
want to put mechanisms in place to avoid that from happening.
And you've got three kids, and you know, I've got three as well. Mine are adults now, but it's a lot of work, physical work. There's a lot of things to do, meals to prepare, you know, and all the emotional stuff that goes with it now as well that I didn't know anything about. What mine up when I did, but it's fantastic that you can introduce them to that. My grandkids, they both know about Wim Hof, a breath work, EFT. You know, I'll batter on about their diet a lot, but they'll come to that as well as they get a bit older and understand. You know, you think, wouldn't it be lovely to know all that stuff when you were a lot younger, so that you could manage your body and your emotions and your thinking so much more powerfully, and not
Oh,
be a victim of a lot of that stuff. You know,
a-
because
absolutely.
just
Absolutely. You know, when I think about what my diet was like when I was a student,
uh-huh.
I was chatting about it with an Irish cousin the last time I was home. It was horrendous. Absolutely horrendous. I don't think we saw a vegetable from one end of the week to the next, you know.
No, it was all
Um,
about how cheaply, and also you needed to have money left to go out at the weekends.
Completely. That was more of a priority.
Yeah.
Um, and you know, it's not about having to do things perfectly or everything needing to be pristine, but if we can find that balance of
Yes.
healthy convenience and just there's so much power in knowledge, isn't there, Lilia? When we know and understand, then we can tackle things much differently and have a much better outcome.
Absolutely. So the other thing that I wanted to talk about is you're running a retreat in Poland. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, yes,
How exciting is that?
wonderful. Oh, it's so, so exciting. And, you know, I suppose this is one of the many gifts I've been given from having had the opportunity to qualify recently as a level 2 instructor. So, along with my colleague and business partner, Darren Adam, who's also level 2 qualified, and his partner, Fiona, the three of us are collaborating together. And yes, we're so honored and excited and grateful to have this opportunity to run a winter travel retreat in Poland at Wim Hof's famous location, you know, where the waterfall is that he
Fantastic.
dives into and the panoramic views of the giant mountains. So we have scope to deliver and offer such a variety of activities. And it's really about taking people's exposure to the Wim Hof method on so much further, but giving them an experience. This is so much more than just the act of the breath work and the act of going into cold water immersion. It's about the experience of being there together in this environment and really pushing boundaries in terms of what people feel their limits are and what we know and what we can encourage them to achieve by doing what we call the no program. It's a Wim Hof mantra, the no program. So part of us all learning to be adaptable is that they won't necessarily know what activity is coming next, but we have a full itinerary and agenda set out, and people are already booking, and it's just incredibly exciting.
Fantastic. Yeah, and you've got Fiona there who does, I mean, because I'm big into the mind stuff, as is Fiona, unleash your mind. So I think that's a really important thing to give people to take home, because then they have things, because, you know, life goes on and waves come and challenges happen, let's face it. So it's really good to learn these techniques that you can do on your physical and in your subconscious mind. And as you say, getting together with like-minded others. I know that our wild medicine retreats, there's a crowd of them that have been there 4 times. They just keep coming back. They've
Yeah.
got a big group. They hang out together. They meet out with. So you get your tribe, because that's what's so important to keep you motivated, is hanging out with other people that are doing that kind of stuff. Because as soon as you go into a group where that's not happening, it's really easy to slip back into old habits and old ways. So
Ab- Absolutely. And, you know, in my humble experience, for me, as somebody who's changed a lot of habits over the years, it takes time, doesn't it? And like you were saying about your experience with cold exposure, which is similar to mine, it takes repetition and discipline. So that for me, in order for those changes and those habits, those new habits to be enforced and ingrained, so that I can improve the quality of my life and the same with other people, um, it needs to be on repeat to delve into the subconscious. So a decision in
true.
our conscious mind to commit and then to put that on repeat and keep doing it, eventually the subconscious, it sinks in, you know, and neurological pathways can be changed and our outcome and our way of thinking. I used to be such a victim. I was always the person feeling sorry for themselves. And,
Mhm.
you know, that's actually why I was so excited to meet and get to know you. Just that middle name of Let It Go. I was like, I am all about that. And you know, there is a surrendering process that happens, whether people realize it or not to start with, every time you get into cold water. And it's so healing on a deep rooted level. So when we actually more consciously then set an intention for our cold exposure, and often my intention is to surrender something or to let go of something. however big or small, and it works. The process works every time.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And that's the thing. The body has no alternative when you go into ice in particular, you know, because it's
Yeah.
conscious mind's not got a look in that time, you know. So yeah, well, listen, what dates is the retreat? Is it November?
The retreat. Oh, good question. You're catching me on the hop now, Lily. I should know the dates.
Yes,
I
you
think
should know the dates.
it's October 26th is ringing a bell.
Okay, well, listen, you can send me a link
You,
and I will.
for anyone who's interested,
You can send me a link to the event, and we can put it in the description for anybody that's wanting to book.
fantastic. Thanks so much.
And is it flights included, or do you need to get your own flights?
So the only thing people have to buy separately is the flights.
Uh-huh.
But we have orchestrated it so that we have a meeting point on the arrival day that evening at 6 o'clock, and we collect everybody from the airport, and we go from there by coach to the destination. And from that point, from the pickup point back to when they're dropped off at the airport at the end of that travel week, everything's included, all meals, accommodation. So it's an all encompassing retreat environment.
Fantastic. And how much is it?
It's 1700.
1,700. Brilliant. And is that for a week or many days?
It's 5 nights,
5
4
nights.
nights and 5 days.
4 nights and 5 days. Fantastic.
Or maybe it's 1500. In or around that.
Yeah, they can get all the details. So you're too
No,
much.
just my attention to detail with certain things. I'm not perfect, but I do know that the content and what's delivered when people arrive is fantastic.
Absolutely, that's the main thing, and they've got the benefit of you there as a nutritionist as well, which people always want to talk about food and what food they should eat. So it'll be great to have, you know, the combination of the three of you and all your skill set. It's just phenomenal, fantastic. So listen, thank you so much for coming on, and we're going to do a live on the Heal Scotland page with the three of you to talk about the retreat, and if anybody wants to ask any questions. So we'll get a date sorted for that. You can talk to these guys, we'll get it in the diary and we'll get it promoted so that people can tune in and learn more about this fantastic retreat out at Wim Hof's place.
Thank you so much, Lilia. I really appreciate your time, and thanks so much for having me on your
And
podcast.
yours. Thank you so much, and I hope to see you really soon. No, one more thing before we go. Where are you based to do Wim Hof in Scotland?
So I'm based in East Lothian.
Right.
I have a little holiday place, a mobile home as well at Loch Goyle Head. So I go there quite regularly. But yes, my main base is East Lothian.
So people are looking for you to either come and run an event or to go to one of your events. You send me all the links, and you know, so that people know demographically how handy that is. Okay.
Fantastic. Thanks so much. I'll do that.
Thanks a million, and I'll see you soon. Ciao.
Okay.